Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Sorry, I lost the screen there after I stopped sharing. I was trying to find the Zoom there again. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, sorry, just needed to unmute myself. Thanks again for having me, Julian. Really looking forward to this one, right?
No worries, mate. Guys, for those of you that weren't able to join yesterday, we did have Kurt on a webinar yesterday. That was really all around the marketing side. So we had Ash from InSeek Identity and obviously Kurt from Builders Coach. We did a webinar yesterday that was really all about, how do I set my, systems and processes up to attract the best possible clients to get them to me. And then really today is all going to be around how do I get them to, pop their details in, reach out to me, enable me to contact them. And then really from there, how do I make sure I win the business of the right client that I want, rather than just wasting all my time trying to deal with tire kickers or people that, are not an optimal client. And I touched on this yesterday as well. We're kind of going through that little bit of a wobbly period in the industry at the moment. And, there's a real feeling of the ones that don't have systems and processes in place are going to struggle. We've obviously seen a lot of the bigger guys are having some issues, and the Port Davis news and all that kind of stuff happen. So really with these webinars, we're really just trying to get the best people we can possibly do and get it out to our clients and potential clients, just really to help set you guys up for success. We did it all through the COVID years and with material prices and things like that. Very different challenges now because the level of work isn't going to be available, and so it's all about winning the right work and making sure you're not wasting your time on that. So Kurt is an absolute, genius with this stuff. I've known Kurt for a few years now. I've been to a bunch of his events. We were at one in Melbourne, about a month ago, Kurt?
Yeah, it was about a month ago,
yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that was awesome. Really good information. So yeah, pen, paper, guys. There's a chat box down there as well. Feel free to pop in questions. We normally have a Q&A section at the very end, but I guess if there's certain questions that are appropriate, we might jump into them, Kurt, but we can kind of play that by ear as the sort of session kicks off. But for those of you who don't know, Kurt, Builders Coach, works with, a ton of builders, and he'll give, a talk around his book and things like that and what he's done. But he's, an absolute genius in this space. So really take your notes and reach out to Kurt. He's great for advice, after the session as well. There'll be his details after. So.
Fantastic. Julian, thank you so much for the intro,
right,
man. I've got to hope I can live up to it. But let me get my screen sharing sorted. Go there. And okay.
Yeah, I've got
should see the goldfish. Okay, fantastic.
Yep.
All right. Well, welcome, guys. Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Julian and BuildExact for hosting this webinar. I don't say it lightly. Like there's, it's a big deal to have companies that are proactive with helping builders with their business development, and it's never been more important. Like we'll touch on it a little bit later, but the most important decision you can make for your business and your life as well, because doing these things impacts your personal life, is to make a decision to work on your business development, and that also includes your leadership development as well. So yourself as the leader of your business. And if I can get you guys to make that decision today, you don't have to work with myself or even with BuildExact. To me, it doesn't matter. Like I'm on a mission to help as many builders as I can. I've been doing this since 2004, and I get a real buzz out of helping people. I'm at that stage now where it's more about helping and enjoying taking people through a positive transformation than anything else. So I want to do that for you today. In order for us to do that, I need you guys to pay attention. So eliminate all distractions. Make sure that you've got your phone away, your emails off. Let people know that you're going to be for the next 90 minutes uninterrupted, okay? Because this could potentially be life-changing information for you. And I'll say that because I've had plenty of builders tell me that. They came to an event like this, which then led to another event or to another mentor or something, some other piece of information. 3 years later, it's completely transformed their business and their life, and that spills over to personal relationships and kids and legacy and everything else. Okay, so I'm talking it up big time. Let's get into the nuts and bolts about what we're going to cover today. So today's about sales process, as Julian said, and specifically, guys, if you're a builder, charging for quotes and using prelim agreements. I'm going to share the entire process We call it best practice. It's the best sales process that we devised. When I say we, I work with hundreds of builders all over both Australia and New Zealand, and also beyond those shores as well. So it's what's being tested in the trenches to work. And that's what I like to share. I understand that you guys are really busy. So you need a process that you can implement quickly and well. And this sales process that I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to share literally all the documents. If you've got any questions, like Julian said, just punch them in the questions box. He'll be monitoring those as I go. But you can set this up in 2 to 4 weeks, guys. You can go from, even if you're I don't care where you are, if you at the back end of your career, if you just started out, 2 to 4 weeks from now, I can have you charging for quotes, using prelim agreements, having people pay you for a quote, you outsourcing the quoting to someone else. Think about how much time that's going to free up, and people thanking you for the privilege. And that includes architects or designers sending you their clients to pay for a quote. All right. So, like I said, this can have a huge impact on your business. And funny enough, Julian yesterday, yesterday I had a webinar on marketing. If you haven't seen that, make sure you watch the recording, because obviously, sales and marketing closely related. We spoke about marketing being selling in advance. Julian yesterday asked me, what was the one thing, if a builder's working long hours, 80, 100 hours a week, and he can pick one thing to work on that will have a positive impact to free up time, because time management and freeing up time is one of the biggest issues always, but now especially in these times, it would be this that we're going to cover today. Okay. Small hinges swing big doors. This is what we call a game changer, a little thing that can have a huge impact. And once you free up time, you can then use that time and the energy to do other things, to build systems, a job delivery system, implement Build Exact properly, get your costings right, build your team, find better people, build a dream team, all that sort of thing. Okay. So we're going to get into mindset, guys, is 70% of success. You may have heard that. Like I said, part of the business development journey is leadership development. Every successful business on the planet is headed up by a leader. Every country is headed up by one leader. You don't see two presidents. It's interesting. There are hundreds of countries on the planet. No one's done that. No one's gone, hey, we'll have two. Maybe you have a vice president or prime minister. And in same with companies, only one CEO. There's one person on the white horse. And that's you if you're the owner of your business. So the buck stops with you. And you're the one that needs to make a decision to work on your business, on the sales process that we're going to talk about today, which is a great leverage point, but also yourself, okay? So your leadership. And you'll know if you've done any personal leadership development, which I'm assuming you have because you're on this call, that you'll understand. And I love sporting analogies. In sport, it's the same. It's 70%, right? Once you get to that level, that peak level of peak performance, that's all around mindset. So what's the mindset that we need for sales? Let's talk about that. Well, I can tell you this, right? We all need to sell, whether you like sales or not. And I feel that semantics and words just don't do, communicating what we're talking about justice. Like sales, marketing, it has a negative connotation for a lot of people. And when I mention those words, what resonates with you? I've asked this question dozens of times at live events. And when I say, tell me what you think about when I say the word salesperson, the most common bit of feedback we get is it's a bit sleazy, okay? Telemarketing, secondhand car salesman. It's just got that negative connotation. Now, you've got to understand, if you think of sales in this way, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell. And we are all in sales, whether you like it or not. You need to, sales is just persuading people to your idea. And that includes you persuading your kids to follow, the right sort of path in life as well. So we're in sales every single day of our lives, but we can't see it as a negative, sleazy thing and then expect to be good at it, right? So I'm going to help you change that mindset. And, you change your mindset, change how you see the world, and the world changes, right? You may have, that's a very powerful thing, by the way. Change how you see the world and the world changes, right? So you can choose to see things differently, choose a different perspective, and then everything changes. Powerful, right? So the way I want you to see sales, the way I want you to choose to see sales is that you are not selling anything, right? You are not a salesman. And it's interesting, the sales process I'm going to share with you does not require you to learn any selling skills at all. Since I've started coaching back in 2004, I've never taught sales skills, like how to close a sale, what to do. I often get asked, what do I do when I present a quote? The sale's already made at that point, okay? And we'll get to that. So the good news is selling is a system. 80% of sales is a system or a process. I'm going to share that with you. You just follow it, which sounds easy, but that's where most people come unstuck, that don't follow the system. If you just follow it, it'll work and you'll get the results, right? Follow the process, the results will follow. And but overlaying that process is this mindset. So you are not a salesman, you're not selling anything, you are a solution provider. You're providing a solution. Now, this is where we're going to talk a bit about marketing as well, because if you offer all things to all people and you are, no job too big, too small, me too builder, then your solution is always going to be new and you're never really going to dig a groove. So this is where it's so important that you position yourself as a specialist of what you do. It's a bit like what I do. I only work with builders, right? I do not work with trades. Sometimes I have trades businesses come to me, like an electrician, a plumber, a roofer, Tyler, and they go, hey, you work with builders, must be very similar. No, it's not. I can't work with subcontractors, only builders. And guys, by the way, for over 17, 18 years now, I'm still learning new things every single day. There's so much to learn. There's so many things that are changing in the industry. All right. So I can help a builder, if you're a builder, just by virtue of the fact that I've been doing this for so long and I've been surrounding myself with the right people. Okay. So all I'll do is share what works and then people take it and run and get results. So that's what you need to be doing as well, whether it's renovations, extensions, luxury, custom homes. The more specialized you are, the more value you add, because the more relevant you are to that select group of people. All right. So that's a very important decision you need to make first. And then you see yourself as a solution provider. If you do renovations, extensions, which is the biggest niche or the most staple niche, it's the broadest banner. A lot of guys, I touched on this yesterday, come to me doing renovations, extensions with a view to then start doing bigger, better, higher quality jobs in the more prestige areas. And then as you move up, if you're doing that, then you'll find there's less and less competition. If you're doing kitchens and bathrooms, a lot of the young blokes that come in, they're brand new. Sadly, 80-90% of guys are never going to do any business development, right? So you're always going to be competing against them, competing against the rats and mice. If you can move up and away into a niche doing the higher end stuff, which I'd highly recommend you do, by the way, in this current market, because the market is going to contract a little. The US, they're talking about a recession, and they have for a while now. In Australia and New Zealand, not so bad, but there is going to be a shrinking of the market, which means working on your sales and marketing is going to be one of the most important things you can do, especially now. We've got 12 months, guys. You've got time to get your processes in place. Like I said, this market, the sales process, 2 to 4 weeks, I can get set up and working. Marketing takes a little bit longer because you got to get, why? You got to get quality content out there. I create some video content, photo content, again, in line with a specialty, and then just have a consistent pulse of this content getting out there, let it, people reach the right people, them absorb it. And then over time, you build credibility and trust, which is what your sales and marketing processes should do. But guys, make this mindset shift. Okay, please just do it now. Make sure that you see yourself as a solution provider. You're not trying to sell. And this is important because if you try to sell to someone, if you've been sold to, you know what that's like. It's off-putting, right? When you chase someone, they run. All right. You need to draw them in. Okay. The only reason sales has a bad name is that there are people out there trying to sell things you don't need. Right. If you don't need a new fridge and someone's trying to sell you one, it's just irritating. So really what you're going to do is just let people know that you provide a certain solution and allow those people who are looking for that solution, which there are lots of people, right? Especially now. And then allow them to come to you and follow your process. And we'll get to that. It's really important that you have a process, because you're going to follow your process or you're going to follow their process. And we'll get to that. A lot of you are following your client's process. And it's not because you're stupid or because you don't want to help. It's because you want to please and you want to help. And that person's got $1 million and you want to demonstrate that you the best choice for them. And you're constantly trying to prove yourself. Okay, you don't want to do that. Okay, there's a much better way for you to demonstrate that you're the right choice without trying to people please. All right, so the other thing, guys, Julian mentioned before, I've written a book. It's an international bestseller. There's a lot more to business development than sales, obviously, but sales and marketing is the holy grail. There are other areas like your finance, admin, your systems, your team. To start you off in your business development journey, if you're not already on it, I'm happy to give you guys, as a thank you to Building Tech, a free copy of my book. I'll handle the postage. I'm not trying to sell my book. It is on Amazon and it's on Audible. So if you want to listen instead, you can get it there. But I'll happily send you a paperback copy. if you just email info@builderscoach, that's builder with an S, builderscoach.com.au, and I'll get that over to you, and you can jump in. There's about 40 systems, documents, resources, videos in the book. There's a URL in the book, including the entire sales process we're going to cover off today. But that'll help you free up time and money, right? Business development does exactly that. It frees up time and money. And again, sales is the one area when Julian asked me yesterday, what's that one area that's going to free up the most time? This is it, all right? So most of you, let's just look at this, right? Because the truth will set you free. Let's just look at the reality of your situation. Last 12 months, you tell me, all right? I don't know who you are, but you tell me, how many people have you spoken to on the phone, okay? And think about roughly how many hours have you spent speaking to people on the phone that you were never, ever going to work with, all right? How many hours roughly? And let's also throw in how many hours have you spent driving out to go and meet with people on site to do site visits that you were never, ever going to work with. And a lot of these people that you spoke to on the phone, you met with on site were lovely people. You actually hit it off with them. There was good chemistry, but they weren't a good fit for you. All right. Think of all that time. All right. I know that it would be a lot. All right. Because I do this, obviously been doing this for a while now, but imagine if you could free that time up and think of the opportunity cost of all that time that you spent that you're never going to get back. You could have spent it with your kids on the beach or working on your business development to free up more time and money to get ahead with your business. And that's the power of the sales process. It's going to free up time. It's going to ensure you don't waste 1 minute with a person who's not a good fit. And that's all we're trying to establish here, guys, is the person who's contacting you. Now, there's probably people contacting you right now while I'm talking to you, right? Whether you're on the live call or watching the recording, you probably got emails coming in or phone voicemail in your mailbox with someone who wants to meet with you because they've got questions about a renovation or a job, whatever it is that you do, right? And for you to contact them, speak to them for an hour, answer their questions, drive out and see them, if they're not the right fit, is a complete and utter waste of time, okay? I have a lot of guys come to me after years of doing things the hard way, and they go, man, I just wish I had a process. I just wish that, and you tell me, if you don't have a sales process now, wouldn't you like to have a process that you know exceptionally well and you know it works, you know it delivers a lot of value to them, you know it's going to help them, you know it's going to be the best possible first impression, it's going to give them the best possible result where they're going to be thanking you and liking you and trusting you and you having built credibility, all right? And that everyone that goes through that process gets exactly the same experience. So there's consistency with everything they go through to the extent that you can outsource parts of that process. You can give it to other people to do. And you know with confidence that there's specific steps and processes, even scripts that are used that ensures consistency, right? I know you probably want that because you wouldn't be on this call, right? But I'm saying this because emphasizing because I've had that many guys come to me going, I just wish I had that, okay? So that's what we're going to get. So again, got to emphasize it's your process or theirs. So what's their process? Well, think about it. Like someone who's looking for a builder, right? And there's a lot of, I mean, I'm not going to go into the news and the current affairs stuff. And there's like, my advice to you is don't listen to the news, unplug. I did it nearly 4 years ago now. Best decision I ever made. Maybe not the best in my life, but we're right up there with one of the best, definitely the best decision from a mindset perspective, right? I've deleted the news feed on my phone. I don't listen to the radio or TV. All right. And I have not missed anything. There's nothing that's happened where like I didn't hear about it, right? Anything major happens, you hear about it. But their process, and I imagine that most people do watch the news. They've seen everything that's going on. Yeah, there's record insolvencies, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, builders can't be trusted. So they're obviously going to go, okay, we want to do a reno, but if we don't know a builder, they haven't been referred to someone where they're going to jump online, they're going to research, 10 or 20. They're going to narrow it down to 5 that they call. Then they're going to, maybe meet with them, get quotes from 3, pick 1. That's their process. They've got the money. They consider themselves the prize. Okay. Now, what you need to do is make sure that they come through your process and your process is engineered to give them the best possible result and also ensure that you are the right fit for them and they're the right fit for you. Okay. So, I want to give you guys some stories. I know you guys like, from experience, I hear, and the feedback we get is that you like to hear stories from other builders. So I'll try to throw some of those in as we go. But yeah, and I've got plenty. I've got endless stories of how guys have used this process. But if you guys want to connect with other builders who, by the way, some of you might be going, how can you charge for quotes? Or Kirk, you don't understand. In my area, it's different. No one charges for quotes. How am I going to do it? I can't use prelims. I don't understand. If we've got a closed Facebook group, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Julian. It's a free group. It's closed though. It's only for builders. There's over 1,000 builders in there. It's called Builders Unite. So if you're on Facebook, if you're not on Facebook, I'm not. I don't use it personally, but it's a good platform for these closed groups. Just request to join. Just say you're on this webinar, the Build Exec webinar, and I'll allow you in. And there's guys in there that interact and share their experiences and also documents and ideas and that sort of thing as well. So part of your process, guys, is educating the client. It's really important. And this is where, just touching back to the marketing webinar yesterday, marketing is selling in advance. You can do a lot of this education, which is just helping people understand your process, that you have a process for helping them understand, whether they're a fit for you, whether you can help them. And also, very importantly, getting the numbers right. People need to understand that sadly, a lot of the numbers that they get presented, the quotes they get, are not accurate, right? There's articles now on realestate.com. There was an article that showed, 80% of the quotes are not worth the paper they're written on. They may as well get a blank sheet of paper, all right? Most people don't understand that, which is why you would have had people go, oh my God, this guy's 30 grand cheaper than you. You're too expensive. Meanwhile, the guy that's 30 grand cheaper than you is quoted at cost or below. He's going off a freaking cliff. Go back to the record insolvencies, and then they trying to drive you there. And it's funny because, well, not funny, but interesting that when you look at these builders that have gone under, and again, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but when you look at Porter Davis, Google Porter Davis and what's going on. These subcontractors torching houses. They burnt a freaking house to the ground, flooded houses. People are crying because they've spent money, some 200 grand that they're never going to get back. So they're the ones that get stung, but it's your clients that are telling you you're too expensive and pushing your margin down. All right. You have a duty of care to your clients to guard your margin. Your margin should be a minimum 20%, 25 markup. I'm not going to dive into the financials. There's a whole chapter in my book on finance and costing and getting that right. And that is absolutely crucial because you can literally market yourself out the back door if your margins aren't right. But it's important to educate people. And this really starts, pisses me off that no one, and there should be a responsibility, I think, with the government should take some responsibility, maybe even the associations, of educating the public, the Australian public, and in New Zealand as well, on the importance of a builder having a margin and a minimum margin of 20% and being financially sound in order to offset the exposure and risk to them, the client, because they're the ones left holding a stick. If you go bankrupt today, yes, it's embarrassing and unpleasant, but you can be able to put food on the table, no problem. You get a job like that anywhere, right? In this industry, you can become a handyman. You can get cash flow coming in. You're not going to die, right? Clients, they end up doing a reno. They're renting a house. I know people who were, Airbnb a place 10 grand a month. The place was, 6 months late in delivery. Luckily, they had the cash reserves. I did a pool and landscaping 2 years ago. 250 grand was the quote. I know people in the industry, right? It cost 500. Lucky I had the money. Some people don't, all right? So the pain to the end user is huge. You need to educate them on this. Our sales process does this. It just helps people understand there's not one way to build, and there's also not one way to price a job. There's square meter rates, there's fixed price, there's provisional sums, there's PC items, there's all these different things. And it's important for them not to choose the cheapest builder, because sadly, look at business in general, 80% of businesses don't make it through 5 years. The 20 that do, 80% of them don't make it through the next 5. That equates to 4 in 100 that make it. Those are the real stats, right? In building, it's 3 years. So why would you follow what the majority do? You need to be in that elite category of peak performers, the top 10%, if not the top 3%. And it's a very different ballgame. But you need to demonstrate that, right, through your processes. And that's what this sales process does. So there are a lot of other areas to your business just besides sales, all right? Marketing, again, watch yesterday's webinar. Marketing is linked to finance. Marketing gives you the opportunity to pick and choose your jobs. You can pick the best job in the best location where the client's all cash. They've got a lovely personality. They've been following you on social media for 2 years, watching your videos, falling in love with what you do. It's a negotiated tender. They're not speaking to other builder. There's no competitive quotes. You can put your margin up and they're going to refer you to their friends and family. All right. And they're going to acquiesce to your contract. You use your association contract, which you should be using always, and your payment schedule, so it's cash flow positive. All right, your cash flow should be deposit in, progress payments, cash flow in the job without you touching the deposit. All right. So there are other factors here. However, remember what we're trying to do, I'm assuming you're busy, is free up time. All right. So the sales process, the small hinge that's going to swing big doors, is going to free up time, which will allow you to work on these other areas of your business, which is so important. But it all starts with a decision, right? Which is the leadership thing. So make sure, if you haven't already, I'm assuming you have, otherwise you wouldn't be here, make that decision and then embrace it. We've got 12 months before we have a mild, moderate, or severe situation hitting next year with the market. All right. So you may as well prepare with a healthy bit of paranoia that we're going off a cliff. I would prepare like we're going off a cliff. All right. So that next year, if we don't, you haven't lost anything. If we do, you're going to be okay. You'll sell through. Ideally, at the end of this year, with solid sales and marketing processes, you can be booked out through to 24, 25, depending on the type of work you do. Again, I would go for the high end, because whatever happens, if there is a recession, if it's a severe recession, there are people that make money in a recession. All right, look at Ray Dalio in the GFC. There's people that made a shit ton of money when the market tanks because they short the market, right? So there's always going to be people that want to build and spend money. Make sure that you're tapping into that market. So your market positioning is really, really important. So your marketing allows you to attract the right people. Make sure you look at that webinar from yesterday and get the good news with your marketing, guys, is sales can get done in 2 to 4 weeks. Marketing is going to take longer, but you can outsource the marketing. So you need to have an online presence, which we discussed yesterday, and also an offline presence. Your offline is your site signs, banners, youth signage, shirts, doing flyer drops, letter drops, brochures, all that sort of thing. You need that. All needs to be seen on the same hymn sheet, but you need your online presence as well, which is your social media, Facebook, Instagram, and then maybe house, if you're at the higher end, depending on your geographical location as well, your website, and your website should be a database building machine, right? All of these things are going to attract people. You want an avalanche of people coming at you, which is counterintuitive. A lot of what works, guys, is counterintuitive. Right? Because if you think, I'm getting 10 inquiries a day, I can't deal with that. It's overwhelming. You just have a really highly systemized deselection process that doesn't take up any of your time. Okay. And that's what your sales process is. In fact, when I started with a builder, we started working together in a coaching program. Day one, we've put the sales process in place. Even if they already have a sales process, I have a lot of guys come to me. They've been working with other coaches. There's a lot of amazing coaches out there. But I'll say, look, here's our best practice sales process. Wash it up against what you've got, and we're gonna put this thing in place because it frees up time, and also it gives you a license to turn on the taps with your marketing, so you can really crank it up. All right, so let's keep moving. The golden rule of sales. So I'm seeing there's not too much interaction. I'm obviously covering this content off beautifully. You guys are all listening attentively, which is great. But I know there'll be more of you watching the recording. All right. So here's the question, right? What's the golden rule of sales? What do you think the number one thing is that is the single most important factor in sales? So some people, again, haven't answered this question a lot of times. Will go, it's closing the sale. It's building trust. It's blah, 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 blah. Guys, it is qualify. So it's deselection. Again, if you feel like, well, that's something I can't do because I'm only getting one inquiry a month, then you've got a marketing problem. All right. You've got to generate, that avalanche of inquiry coming in. Some of it will be price checkers. Some of it will be tire kickers. But in there, it's a bit like sluicing for gold. You put enough pay dirt through your sluicing machine and you're going to extract the diamonds and the gold, right? So you qualify. You need to be aggressive with your qualification because you cannot afford to waste 1 minute of your time. I don't need to tell you that, right? And the more successful you are, the more you'll be aware of this, right? And the more you'll agree. So what we're doing is we qualifying aggressively and pushing hard. And also, again, don't forget the mindset. You're a problem solver, okay? And so you're not for everyone. You have a specific solution that you provide. All you're trying to find out is whether or not they're a good fit. And you have to lead the process. It's your process, not theirs, but you need to lead them. A lot of you guys, sadly, if you look back, and we're all guilty of this, right? So you know, if I'm making you feel bad, good, because that's going to cause you to change. But I'm not trying to beat up on you. But I'm sure there's been a time when a client's come to you and it was probably your biggest opportunity, biggest job in the best area, and they're a high net worth individual, and you just wanted to please them. And they were saying, oh, I want to do this. I want to change that. Could you do that? Could you meet me here on a Saturday? I want to see you. I've got an opening 7 o'clock Sunday or Monday night. And you, yes. They say jump, you say how high. So they were leading you, all right? You were like a little puppy dog following them around, just trying to please to get the sale. It needs to be the other way around, right? You are the expert. This is why you need to have that strong market positioning, and be a specialist. So you're the cardiologist, not a GP. And then you don't have to do it in an arrogant way, but you know more about building than anyone. Even if you've built for a brain surgeon, right? It doesn't matter who they are and how intelligent and successful they are. You know more about building, right? You know more about building than me. I'm a business coach for builders. I haven't spent nearly as much time on site as you have, right? So you need to lead me as your prospective client through a process of, you're helping me understand what the things that I need. And that's where you add value, credibility, and build trust. All right. But you do need to lead. You can't let them lead you. That's where you end up in a situation where at the end you present the quote. Now tell me if this has happened to you. And everything's great. You've got good chemistry with them. They like you. You like them. Everything's cool. They go, hey, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. Just leave it with us. We'll get back to you. And then you wait. The weekend goes by. The next week. And then you're like, okay, it's been a week. I'll wait 10 days. In 10 days, okay, maybe what'll I do? Then you try to call them. They don't answer. Maybe you send them a text. Hey, I just tried calling. Nothing. And then they ghost you. And then you like, oh, should I call them back? You feel like you're stalking them. You know what I mean? And then if you've got a dozen of those all out there at the same time, that burns up psychic energy, right? You don't want that. That's because they've been leading you, right? You want to complete the incompletes. You want to have a process where you're taking them through, and you want to go for a quick no. Rather go for a quick no. It's human nature. You don't like to hear no. We don't like rejection. All of us don't like rejection. So, and it's never going to go away. But you'd rather go for a quick no, where they go, look, I don't want to work with you. No, thanks. I'm going with someone else. Than a slow maybe, where it drags on for 12 months, 18 months. I've had a guy dragged on. He spent 600 hours with someone, and it was brutal because at the end the guy was like, "Oh, I found someone $5,000 cheaper," or "I don't like how you didn't return my call on a Sunday," and he moved on. Right? Don't let that happen. Make a decision now. Draw a line in the sand. No more. All right. So let's get into the nuts and bolts, guys. You're probably wanting the meat and potatoes of the sales process. Let's go. All right. So our best practice process, there's more and more complexity that gets sort of packed into these, but I want to keep it simple. My job is to make complex things simple, simplify for profit, I always say, as opposed to complicate for profit like some other professions out there. I don't want to beat the lawyers and the accountants and the IT people up, but they often make things a lot more complex than they need to be. All right, so let's keep it really, really simple. So step one of the sales process, someone contacts you. Now, obviously, I'm assuming you get like phone calls and emails. You should never answer your phone, by the way, like on a ladder when you're on site and there's noise and you like a little bit flustered and then someone's trying to ask you questions and I saw a house you did down the road, blah, blah, blah. That's unprofessional. Rather let it go to voicemail. People don't get pissed off if you don't answer your phone. Think about it when you phone someone that don't answer. You don't get pissed off. What pisses people off is when you don't get back to them. All right. So have a professional voicemail, like message that says very simply, thank you for calling. You can get someone else to record the message. Thank you for calling. Your call is important to us. We will get back to you as soon as possible. All right. We had a setup at a 1/3 of a Renault's company here in Sydney. And our setup, we had a professional voice recording. We've got someone, you can get this done for like $100 on site. You go to Star now, there's people that do voiceovers. You can pick the voice you like. And there's those three things. Thank you for calling. Your call is important. We'll get back. What we said is we'll get back to you within 24 hours. And then we had our office lady check the message. It was a virtual message bank. So it was a phone number that we used on our site signs, banners, youth signage that went into the specific virtual message bank. And she would check it in the morning, midday, and in the afternoon. Okay. And any people in there, she would call them. She'd have a script saying, hi, it's Sarah from Build On. I'm just calling, and then they would go, they start asking her questions, and then she'd say, look, in order for us to help you best, we need some more information. I'm going to send you a series of questions, a questionnaire, basically. If you could please answer it as best you can with as much detail as possible, we'll then give that to the builder, our specialist builder, who will absorb that information. And once he's done that, he'll call you to have a meaningful conversation about your project. 2-minute conversation, bang. But what it's done is under promise, over deliver. We'll call you back within 24 hours, and we're calling them within 12 hours. All right, that's the first impression. And that is made even more impactful by the fact that most builders aren't returning freaking phone calls. They're not even returning the phone calls, okay? So you've engineered, what we did is engineered an opportunity to under promise and over deliver. Small thing, big impact. All right, so that's just the first thing. Plus, you need to appreciate that this process that I'm sharing with you now is repulsive to a tire kicker. So a tire kicker is someone who's already got his builder, his brother-in-law is building the house, or he's already made his decision. He wants the price check, right? You've had one of these people before, and normally they will say to you, because they want to get you to start. I'm just around the corner, come see me, I'm all cash. They'll tell you everything that they know or think that you want to hear to get you there, but they're full of BS, all right? So don't buy it. Do not buy it. So, David, it's your process, not theirs. Just politely, look, thank you very much. That sounds amazing. Just in order for me to help you best, I need as much information as possible. They're not going to like it. It's like a teacher telling you to do your homework when you're at school. Okay, so they're going to go away. From our test and measure, 7 out of 10 of these questionnaires come back. 3 out of 10 don't. The 3 that don't, you celebrate that. You celebrate that. You've just dodged a bullet. All right. Out of the 7 that come back, there's a percentage of those that are not a good fit. Remember, the outcome objective of this process, what you're trying to achieve, is establish whether these people are fit. If they're not a fit, you do not have to phone them back. Okay, the email questionnaire we use, by the way, is a Google form. It's free to do. I wouldn't set it up yourself. Rather follow the who, not how. Instead of figuring out how to do it, find out someone who can. There's a great site called Upwork that's similar to Fiverr. You may have heard of Fiverr and Upwork. There's people all over the world that do these specialist tasks online for like $7 an hour. Right, they'll have one done for you for $40, a Google form questionnaire by tomorrow morning. And the great thing with that is, in there, one of the questions is, how did you hear about us? And the Google form captures all that data, so you get the analytics. So you can capture, after 12 months, you can go in, click a button, and extract a CSV file with all the questionnaires that were completed. And you'll be able to see, so we've got 112 questionnaires, 38 came from our website. And there was a percentage that came, maybe you'll find a percentage come from a particular architect or designer, and then that helps you direct your marketing spend. Now, even if it means, we better take that guy and his wife out for dinner, let's drop a couple of grand, take them to a fancy restaurant. Okay, so now, in the same way that it's repulsive to a tire kicker, it is the best possible first impression for a quality AAA grade blue chip client, because someone who's a genuine high quality prospect, when they get, they get in, you call them back immediately. Professional voicemail message, they leave the message, they go, these people are busy, call back quickly, questionnaire sent. They're like, oh my God, these people are professional, organized, process driven. Plus this builder, who's a builder, and most builders are notoriously bad at communicating, apparently, has sat down and thought out all the best questions to ask me so that he can better help me. All right. Great first impression, great demonstration of the caliber builder you are. And then it's differentiating you straight away off the bat from the other people they call in who don't have these processes, right? Plus, if they're busy people, if you're dealing with a doctor, dentist, teacher, whatever, although teachers, I've heard guys that qualify them out. Lawyers and teachers, not great, right? For a lot of you guys. But we digress. For them, it's like, 9 o'clock tonight when the kids are in bed, I can go through this questionnaire, and then they can send you War and Peace. If someone comes at you and you don't like them, you don't need to phone them. You can politely send them an email saying, thank you so much for sending this through. We know someone who's perfect. And send them the details of another builder. So they want to get balustrade fixed, maintenance work, carpets ripped out. Just send them a local handyman or someone, if you know someone even better, that's going to look after them and send them their details. All right. It's like when you phone a company and they say, sorry, can't help you. And they just leave it at that, uncomfortable silence. Versus them going, sorry, we can't help you, but I'll tell you what, I know someone who's perfect. Phone these people. And you leave with a warm and fuzzy feeling, okay? So most people don't want to market aggressively because they don't know how to say no, because they don't realize the simple solution is you just refer on to someone. So in our Builders Coach community, if you go to the Builders Unite Facebook group, there's quality builders in there who you can network with and refer to with confidence. Because ideally, guys, you need that overflow of inquiry. You want to overbook the flights like the airlines do, so that you can pick and choose jobs based on location, budget, them acquiescing to your process, following your, complying with or agreeing to work with your contracts, payment schedules, and also when their jobs can start, so you can stagger them perfectly. Because profit, workflow, cash flow. Workflow is one of the big three, okay? All right, so remember, qualify. So if they don't send the questionnaire back, can't be serious, surely. So you don't need to do anything. Again, it saves you a lot of time. When it does come back, you like what you see, that's when you call them. And you don't just call. Some guys make a mistake of calling, booking a site visit immediately. No, you stop and spend 40 minutes on the phone, FaceTime. You can do a video call like this. You can Zoom them, and you go through that questionnaire. There's actually a script. We call it an audition call. That's them auditioning for you to drive out and see them on site. That's why it's called an audition call. So you got Simon Cowell from America's Got Talent, and they auditioning for you to do that. Because let's face it, that's for most of you, that's a significant investment of time. It's like 3 hours, right? Of the 40-minute, half an hour drive there, the hour and a half of them, and then the travel time back. That's half a day. You don't want to do that. You have to spend that time. Bear in mind, your time is worth $1,000 an hour. Easy as a business owner, if not 10 grand an hour in certain cases. That's what business development's worth over a lifetime. 10 grand an hour, all right? You just don't get it immediately. So you spend 40 minutes on the audition call. If they do well, so their audition goes well, and you go, look, I think these people are worthy of me going out to see them, you would then obviously tell them, you book an appointment 5 days out, and then you send them an email confirming the appointment, the time and location. You make sure you get their name and the spelling of their address and that correct. And in that email, you send them a PDF document, got a 12-page. All of this, by the way, is in the book, in the resources section, right? There's a 12-page or 9 to 12-page frequently asked questions document that explains cost plus versus fixed price, provisional sums, square meter rates, how you quote, why you do it a certain way to ensure accuracy, why people will drop 3 grand or a QS and a quantity surveyor because they get a bill of quantities, getting the warm and fuzzy, safe feeling, oh, this must be accurate, and then finding out later that no, like what the QS said a mil, but the builder's quotes are 1.5 and 2 every day of the week, right? So what you're doing is you ensuring accuracy, you're collaborating with one of the best estimators in the country, who I can refer you to, by the way, if you want to know. Because some of you will be thinking, I'm not going to outsource to an estimator. That's going to screw it up. It's way too important. Yes, it's going to happen if you work with the wrong estimator. And let's face it, we live in a world of mediocrity. Most people are mediocre at best. We've got 3 of the best in the country that I know. So if you need a good estimator who's been tried and tested for over a decade, who knows more about quoting than you, and I know for some of you, you go, bullshit, how can someone know more than me? All he does is quote, all right? We have our estimators telling our builders, hey, your rates are $20 an hour less than everyone else in your area, just so you know. Okay, things like that where they actually add value, all right? So you collaborating with someone like that, and also the architect and the designer and the client to ensure that the numbers are watertight. Okay, what's that worth to the client? And then letting them know that, yes, there's a nominal fee that you charge for that, which, by the way, does not actually cover the cost of all your time and everything that goes into it. And once people are, once their psyche's been penetrated, and some of them will go, oh, is this true? Is it true that all the quotes are accurate? And they Google it. They go ask friends and family at barbecues or whatever. And they find out, shit, yeah, that's very true. And this builder is actually trying to help me. All right. So that's when they come back and they're ready to go. But just go and follow them through the process. So you send that. This is only if that audition call goes well. You send an email, confirm the appointment, PDF document in there, frequently asked questions. Plus, then you will mail them, snail mail, Okay, well, I know this is, a lot of guys, why would you send them something in the mail? And we can just send them a PDF and we can send them links to videos in our website. And yes, you're doing it because you want to send something that's tactile, right? That they could feel and touch. Plus, this process is engineered and deliberately slowed down. There's a process of sales called slow trigger, fast bullet. You're slowing it down so we can send them information, also extract information from them to establish that they're a good fit, but allow them to absorb information so they better understand how you're going to help them and the process that you follow. And you're not trying to be controlling and dictatorial. You're taking them through a very well-defined process because it's the best possible outcome for them, which is what you're trying to do. Okay. And hopefully that's coming across with me as well. Like if we work together in a coaching program, I'm going to be directive as it relates to me helping you find the shortest distance between where you are now and more money in your bank account. So I'll tell you, hey, you need to do this. And if I need to, drag you kicking and screaming over the line, I'll do it. But fortunately, that doesn't happen. Usually it's an enjoyable experience. So confirmation email sent, brochure sent in the mail. Now, we don't trust Australia Post, do we? I don't know what NZ Post is like, but we need to follow them up. If you send something in the mail, 48 hours later, you don't have to do this call, by the way, someone in your office could. Hey, just phoning, just making sure you got that information okay. Again, we're going against the grain of the perception that builders are notoriously bad at communicating, all right? You've voicemail, phoned, sent out a Google form. You've had a video call, email, PDF documents, links to video, which you should send, by the way, and if you want awards, use that. Hard copy brochure, follow-up call, just to make sure you receive that stuff in the mail. Oh, by the way, please make sure you go through that information. Then an agenda the day before. This is big. The day before the appointment, you send them an agenda. So, by the way, just confirming tomorrow, 2:00, here's the agenda, what will be coming. We've had people phone the builder, go, I can't believe you sent me an agenda. It's so professional. Our accountant doesn't even do that. So then an hour before you leave, or as you're leaving to go see them, you're driving out, you send a text message, on my way, see you soon. Just in case they're a no-show, you would have had it. You turn up, oh, so sorry, my kid was sick, I had to go get them from school urgently, whatever. Rather get that information and then you can do something else. Again, you don't always waste a minute of your time. Then you turn up on time, presentable with a run sheet. And all this is in the sales process for how you're going to deal with that appointment. And a preliminary agreement or cost analysis solution ready to go. Okay. Excuse me.
Hey,
all right,
Kurt,
so here's an example.
If you're there, Kurt, mate, just I've got a question. I just wondered if we can maybe just touch on that while we've
go for it.
Open
Absolutely.
here. So it's from Claire. So she's saying, we live in an instant world. Are people not put off by not meeting until next week and likely to go to a more responsive builder?
No. I mean, it makes perfect sense. So what's the lady's name? Claire?
Claire.
Claire, yeah. Claire, that makes perfect sense, what you're saying. A lot of what works with both sales and marketing is counterintuitive, including like an example of what's counterintuitive is the most expensive quote with the guys that I work with often gets converted, which it's like, why would someone take the most expensive one? But you get what you pay for. But I'm an empiricist, so we just test this all the time, right? That's all we do is test. So in the 17 or 18 years, that has never come up. Okay, so I can see why you would think it, and it makes a lot, like on paper, it goes, yeah, logically you would assume that it's never, we haven't even had a single incident. And even if we had one incident of someone going, this is a bit drawn out, often they left of center, but no, it hasn't come up. So even though it makes sense, because it hasn't come up, it's a non-issue. And bear in mind, you are wowing the hell out of them. Think of this process from the client's perspective. You're going through. Think of yourself as a customer. When have you ever been to a company where you turn up and they're unorganized and things are different every time you get there and they got no process, no structure, versus one where they're very organized, extremely professional, and they take you through their process and you feel like almost like you've been romanced. I don't know if you've ever been to like BMW or Mercedes or Maserati or something. They are not going to acquiesce to your process, but you are going to just let yourself go through theirs because it's amazing. They know what they're doing. They understand. They understand their customers. So if you're a customer of theirs, they're going to make you feel very, very important, and give you what you want. Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, Kurt, it's one of those, like as you're saying, it's just the kind of value that you represent. Like I think there's some stupid weights on some of the cars at the moment, because just because you brought up cars is in my head. But yeah, it's all about just educating them and kind of selling your, well, sorry to use the word selling, but adding the value of what you provide, and people will wait around. But whereas I think if you only provide that kind of like questionnaire where you've got name, contact number, phone, email address, you pick up and give them a call, speak to them, and you say, oh, I'm actually not gonna be able to get back to you for 2 weeks, and that's all you provide, then that's all you're offering, I think, at that point.
Yeah, and also bear in mind, like you think of a quality prospect. I mean, you guys have probably all want to build yourself. Like you've got your best prospects you've ever had. Hundreds of questions, right? They've got lots of questions. They want to know about lots of things. They want your input. So slowing it down, extracting that information, understanding it. So the first step is literally extracting as much information as possible. Then you're hearing them, you're understanding what's important to them, not only from a build perspective, what they want to achieve with the outcome, but also, everything else, budget wise, the type of builder, had they built before, what was it like? And you got to see what type of person you're dealing with, and what's important. Maybe timelines are really, really important. Budget is important. You got to, just identify and get clear on how you can help them, essentially. But this works. This process can tell you how it works really, really well. You're probably getting that I'm quite passionate about it. Julian, we spoke yesterday. There's a couple of things I think you wanted to touch on as well as it related to Build Exact.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to, I'll turn my camera on so you guys can see me again. I thought I'd turn it off earlier on. But when it comes to sort of adding value through that quoting phase, even before you get to the quoting phase, if you're using Build Exact, guys, there's a customer portal in there. A lot of people still don't use it for the quoting process. If you have the pro subscription, you'll have the customer portal. Get it set up, get it branded correctly, and just start communicating with the client through there, because then all they have to do is hop on. They can message you through there. It comes into your Build Exact file. It means anyone in your team can hop in and get back to them. If they've got any ideas, you can get them to send it through the customer portal. You can see those as well. You can pass ideas through there. It's just all these little things that can help with that process. And obviously at Build Exact, it's an online product. So it's just going to continue updating and updating and updating. So it's going to get even more beneficial. So, that whole system of using a customer portal where someone else is probably just sending them an email and the client's having to go into their emails and finding all search through, and if they're like me and they've got everyone from bloody Spotlight and JB Hi-Fi emailing every 2 days, their emails are probably gonna have 1,000 emails, and it's not the best way to do it, in my opinion. But if you can sort of keep it all in one place, the customer portal, and that will run with them from the first time you speak to them, you get them set up, all the way to that final invoice and the job, all the documents, all the information, the photos, signed paperwork, variations, everything will all be in there. There's selections in there as well now. So again, it's one of those things that a lot of other builders don't have. All the big builders have these kind of systems, but smaller builders generally don't. And at this kind of time period, you're really sort of looking out for things that can differentiate yourself from everyone else, and offering a better service, more value, all those kind of things really play a big part for consumers. So if you have got Build Exact, definitely hop in and check it out. And then the actual quoting process, we generate the quote for you. In general, using Build Exact, single story new build normally takes about 15 to 25 hours. We get people down to about 1 to 5 hours. So the actual speed at which you're getting back to customers is a lot quicker. So to Claire's point there as well, if you're doing manual estimating, obviously it's a lot slower in that process. And, for most people that might take 2, 3, 4 days to get a quote, in terms of time to get a quote out. And obviously you've got to wait for suppliers and things to get back to you. But using Build Exact, it's quicker, and we have supplier integrations coming in, and then the quote actually generates for you. And that can be a digital quote, or you can sit down and present, in person. But yeah, there's a few bits and bobs there. And I think it's all individual, small little things that, as you change them all, then you start getting to that process like Kurt's talking about, being able to charge for quotes and being able to have clients kind of queuing up for you rather than you queuing up for a client. So yeah, just little changes. I think a lot of people, and I've been to so many events, so many chats with Kurt and stuff as well, and the amount of people that don't think they can charge for quotes, and then you've got all of Kurt's clients in the room that they're all charged for quotes. I'm like, well, you can do it. It just takes some, education and changing on that.
Yeah, and also I couldn't agree more. Like having sales build exact, using it in the sales process early on the client portal, it demonstrates that you're process driven, you're professional, you're organized. That's what people want. That's what makes them feel safe, because they do hear the horror stories, right? So anything you do like that is going to demonstrate that you're an organized professional builder, right? That's also keeping all the information in one place, like you said, Julian, which is crucial. I don't have to tell you that. You probably got stuff. How many times have you had to look for a document and take you 20 minutes to try to find it in your inbox and through your emails? And you're training the client how to use the client portal before you sign them on. So when they come on as a client, they're already familiar with your process. And yeah, I like the, just want to touch on that ballpark figure. Like if you're going to do an estimate, a quick estimate, quick budget estimate as part of the sales process, I would charge for that. We have guys charging $395 for a quick turnaround estimate for people that are very early on in the process, because that's what the sales process is doing as well. It's helping you understand where these people are. Are they very early on, standing start, 18 months away from a build, from turning soil, or have they got all their documentation ready to go? You're going to have people anywhere from on that spectrum. And, some of them are going to be early on where they just want a rough estimate. So you want to go quick turnaround. Our guys submit a quick turnaround estimate before they even meet with them. All right. And they charge that money. And people are very, very grateful. If you can get a process for doing that quickly and well, people, when that estimate comes back and they go, oh my God, that's way beyond what we thought we're going to spend, they will be happy to spend $400 lunch money to get that information quickly. Versus, them spending 6 months going through the whole design process. How many people do you know who've gone through the whole design process and then they find out when they get the quote that they can't afford it? All right, so you saved them, and it also helps you. You're ejecting them again. Quick no versus a slow maybe. Get them out, and then you will have some where they get that budget estimate and they go, oh, "This is exactly what we had in mind," and then they qualified. They get to that next phase where you go, okay, well, let's get some, let's get a SketchUp or concept design done, and then work towards full working drawings and a full cost analysis, right? Detailed cost analysis. So really important that you do have enough coming through the front end as well. It sounds like if you're worried about losing someone, oh, what if I upset them? I have guys when people go, I don't like this question. I don't need you. I'll just talk to you on the phone. This is where the leadership comes in. You just got to politely go, look, it's better for you to do it this way. This is our process. And if they fight you on the process, know that it's not a quality prospect. All right. So you need to know when and how to say no. And you're not doing it in a nasty way. I mean, that image is very like, policeman no, but it's not. It's just politely referring them on. Especially, I don't have to tell you, crazy does exist, right? You guys would have all had a crazy toxic client, right? Toxic client. So this sales process is also helping reveal that. So you get someone who's overly controlling, like people do have personality disorders, narcissists or psychopaths do exist. It's rare. It is extremely rare, but they do exist. And having been in this game this long, I've got horror stories that you won't even believe. You won't even believe of things that have happened, right? So you do need to. The worst type of animal is one that you can't see coming. If you've got a Donald Trump type person who tells you, I don't like you, I want to sue you, you know what's coming. The worst is someone that you can't see that. You got great rapport, great relationship, everything's amazing, and then you put in a dagger at your back, right? So you've got to take them through this process. It's best thing for them, but also for you. And only one wrong client coming through the front door, which is why also most of the builders I work with, they do the sales, because you'd be the best person to do the sales, but also you decide who comes through the front door and who you let in to your business. All right. So the documentation does the heavy lifting, guys. Like, you create a quality brochure. We have brochures that, like I was talking about before, where some of them are 25 pages. I've had 14 builders co-author books with me. They send their book out as part of the sales process. Plus, they've got a brochure. All right. So just think about that. If you've got a book that, like, it's like with my book. If someone's like, "Who the hell are you? Like, who are you to tell me how to run my business? And why should I even freaking bother listening to you?" I'll say, "Well, read my book. Listen to my book." And if after you've read it, you've got this guy, none of it's relevant, then, well, it's not relevant for you. Then you're not a fit for what we do. But most people that read it go, "Oh my God, this guy obviously, he's been doing this for a while. He knows some things. There's some things I didn't know that are worth a huge amount of money to me, and the percentage I want to work with me." But it's the same with you. If you specialize, you're going to be even more relevant, add more value, and and this is why you're slowing it down as well. Is it just giving them enough time to absorb the information? You need to be able to absorb it. And again, if it's not relevant, or they're not a good fit, or they get agitated by it, then that's okay. There's more work out there than you can possibly handle. All right. But this is why you've got to market and then pick the gems. Ideally, you want to be booked out consistently with AAA grade blue chip clients. So think of your best client ever, your dream clients. You need to market hard enough to be able to generate a consistent flow of those people and that type of work. So these documents do the heavy lifting, because if you, just going back to the brochure, had someone ask you, "Why should I work with you and not the other builders in the area?" Now, you tell me, 45 minutes, you could probably explain, go through projects that you've done, what it is that you do, the fact that you handpick your trades, and on and on and on. Let the brochure do that, and have a brochure that is written. The brochures that we put together are written with covert persuasion techniques woven into them. There's only 11. There's a great book by a guy called Robert Cialdini. Myself and the Biz Video guys were talking about it just yesterday. There's none of those 11 covert persuasion techniques in our brochures. The sequence of information is laid out with a lot of thought. And what it does is it's engineered to quickly build credibility and trust, but also communicate in the best possible way, why it is that you are the best choice for them. And instead of you having to explain that to someone, you just send it out to them. And so have a read of that, the lines. And look, if you've got any after reading that, if you've got any questions, let us know. And when we meet, we'll go through them. But you've saved yourself like an hour of time. All right. So very powerful. And obviously video is another way that you can communicate a lot. But I want to keep moving and talk about what happens when you present, when you go to that site visit and then present, package up. And again, that slowing it down allows you to share information with them absorb it, but also you extract information. Where are they in the preliminary or pre-construction process? And what do they need? What do they have and not have? And then package up a preliminary agreement solution. So if they don't have design, you include design. Get fixed price on design from an architect or designer or drafty. And this is why you want to have a suite of those that you network with, which is the number one marketing strategy, by the way, because if you networking with architects and designers, the right ones, that is, because not all of them are going to be a good fit for you, but the right ones, you put yourself in the direct line of work. They are designing work that needs to get built. So you can't put yourself in a better line of work than dealing with them. But make sure you deal with people who have equivalent standards to you, equivalent, like values alignment, and also quality documentation and decent turnaround times. Otherwise, you're going to invite I don't have to tell you this, right? You will invite inefficiency into your business if you align with the wrong architect or designer. So you package up a prelim agreement. Again, they may have no documentation, in which case it's a ballpark, a very early stage design. Otherwise, they've got all their documentation and engineering done, and it's just a cost analysis. And again, that sales process is educating them on the importance of getting those numbers right. So when you turn up, they fully understand what it is that you're doing, and I'm happy to proceed. So I do want to point to a outsourced estimator that you guys can use, who also uses BuildExact. His name's Hayden. His company's called Pricer Plan. I've known Hayden for, I think, 11 years now. I can vouch for him. He works with builders, mainly on the Eastern Seaboard, but pretty much all over Australia. So you guys are, that's gold. If you want to outsource, but you've been fearful of who to outsource to, Hayden understands everything that I've discussed on this webinar today and more. He understands the financials and most importantly, the margin that you need. And he can help you get accuracy. I'd recommend if you're going to work with an estimator, including someone like Hayden, send him a completed quote that you've already done, get him to price it up, ask him about his process. What's his process for ensuring accuracy? What other builders has he worked with like you? And what was his process with them? And how does he do things? Just to give you confidence. It's a really important part of your business. But guys, I don't have to tell you, if you can outsource that, I mean, just think about it. How many hours a year would you save if you could outsource the estimating? I'm assuming it's a big chunk. And even if it took you 6 or 12 months of figuring out how to get it right, how to get the numbers watertight with someone like Hayden, what would be worth to you after that for the rest of your career? Someone's paying you for a quote and then you're outsourcing it. No one's asked how much do we charge for a quote. That gets asked every time I talk about this. So I'll tell you. I know Hayden and other estimators will charge probably it's slightly more than this now, but around 0.25%. So 0.25% of the contract value for the quote. That's the cost. That's around $2,000 or $2,500, $2,500 on $1 million project. All right. So then you would put 500 on $3,000. Client pays $3,000, which is nothing, by the way. Think about it. You're about to drop $1 million. Would you spend $3,000 to get the numbers watertight, and offset the risk of you becoming a statistic? Someone who got told it's going to cost $1 million, cost 1.5, going to cost 1.75. So that's one of the most important things you can do to build credibility and trust, is get the numbers tight. So that's a value-added service that you're offering. And this is also, from a mindset perspective, get away from the idea of you getting paid to do a quote. It's not about you. No one gives a shit about you and how you having to do the quote. There's enough builders doing free quotes. What you're doing is slowing it down and offering a cost analysis service that is better than a QS. That's what you're offering and packaging up. All right. So that's what you need to present. And that's where people see value, because people might pay money for value. Right? And there's a lot of value in that when you see all the carnage out there with the inaccuracy of numbers. And if over time you can get it, you can demonstrate, and I'd even get testimonials. Like if you can get a video testimonial of someone saying the quote came in at $1 million, and guess what? I paid $1 million. There were a few variations which were mine, and those were extras, but I paid exactly what they told me I was going to pay, pretty much. If you can get a portfolio of clients all saying that, it doesn't matter if you 300 or 400 grand more, because for most builders out there, whatever they say the client's going to pay in the quote is very different to what the eventual number is, right? So this is very, very powerful, guys. But yes, the benefit to you is off the chart. Imagine you never having to, everyone pays you for a quote and you don't have to do the quoting. Okay, that's why this can turn your business on its head. It's significant in terms of the impact. And conversion rates, if you're wondering, if you charge for quotes, what are the conversion rates? I don't know if you remember, Julian, in Melbourne, we asked guys in the room, it ranged from 60 to 90%. There was even one guy, I think 100%. He hadn't had a cost analysis or a prelim that hadn't converted to contract. So you will, at the very least, conservatively convert 1 in 2. Charge for quote, a cost analysis, or prelim agreement. Are there any questions? Is this all making sense? Okay.
Nothing at the moment there, Kurt. But I think just to kind of reiterate what you're saying there, I think the people that put that work in making sure that people are paying them for quotes, I think it definitely does put off the put off the tire kickers. I know for me, I've been a tire kicker before. I'm sure you all have in some way, shape, or form, depending on what you're trying to buy. But I think it definitely puts off people. But then I think also for people that are keen, it kind of shows that that there is actually genuine interest there.
Absolutely. Once people pay you money for a quote, there's no better show of commitment.
Yeah, there is one from Claire here saying, did you say you send them a provisional estimate before meeting them, but then upsell the outsourced quote after meeting?
If so, again, it depends on whether or not if they're early stage and they want a ballpark. Normally, that's the terminology. Can you give us a ballpark figure? Then yes, you'd sell that to them first, give them that number, and then the next step would be, you obviously have to do some drawings to get an engineering and everything else to get the accurate cost analysis done or quote. But yeah, you take them on a continuum.
Yeah,
some people will come to you with an estimate already.
Yeah, I think, Claire, it's all depending on what you guys want to do, what the customer wants to do. But I think, like I said, Kurt's saying, a lot of people do ask for that. But having some form of payment involved in that kind of allows for you to see whether they're actually
100%. Yeah. I mean, just on that, some form of payment comment. Most of our guys charge for site visits now as well. So when you're getting that many inquiries, you're getting 10 a day. You just charge $250 for a site visit. It's a consultation. Like I needed to years ago establish whether I should knock down or rebuild the house we were living in. And I didn't know, like I had no clue. So a guy turned up and he was a renovations and custom home building specialist on the North Shore of Sydney. And he knew straight away. He was like, oh, you do this. And that was valuable. Like that was, just that his ability to walk on site and then make that call and give an explanation. I would have gladly paid money for that. So you guys have so much value you can add. You just got to package it up. For some reason, it's the one profession on the planet where some builders post World War II decided to do it for free and now everyone expects it. You just got to break them all. You just got to package it up, add the value, and then people pay. I've never had anyone not be able to charge for a quote, by the way.
Yeah, I think Claire as well. I think it's about kind of educating the client on what you're doing and why you're charging. And I think the people that are serious are probably going to be more okay with that. And it's about saying, I guess, as well, you're not going to come out and spend hours there trying to get a full estimate for them. This is just giving them a ballpark figure, but it involves a bit of time, bit of work, and maybe just saying maybe other people might just be giving you a pick a number out of thin air kind of estimate. But I guess if you use estimators like Hayden, I know he does. I try and get away from recommending specific people, but I know for a fact that Hayden does this. He has 3 different plans that he runs. He does a really, really quick fire estimate. He does a more detailed estimate that he uses Build Exact for, and then I believe the third one is a full estimate. So I guess it's just depending on what you want to do, and a lot of estimators will do something similar to that as well. So I'm not saying he's the only one that does it, but I know for a fact that he does.
Yeah, and you don't ever show your margin, guys, when you present your quote, just on the presenting the quote. By the way, when you present your quote, the decision has already been made. So there'd be, if it's a husband and wife, there's pillow talk where they, especially if they're speaking to other builders, which ideally you want to go for a negotiated tender. We're all about optimizations. What's the best possible outcome? And we've got, I know one builder, their first question is, when you phone them, they'll ask you, are you speaking to other builders? If you say yes, they'll politely say, look, unfortunately, we can't help you. They'll only do negotiated tenders. They will not do a quote if you're going to get comparative pricing. But they'd also give you a list of every client they've ever worked with, and they're second generation. So it's got thud factor, boom. They've just got an amazing reputation, a huge amount of trust. So, but that's what you want to ideally aim for: negotiated tenders, which you guys would have all had. Someone come to you, go, look, I want to work with you. We love this house that you did, blah blah blah. But the quote, you give the final number. You don't give them a breakdown. Just opening Pandora's box, because then it's like if you went and bought a Mercedes and they said to you, oh, by the way, the profit on the engine is 25%. You'd go, oh, wow. I know. And then you get your calculator, you go, oh, if I'm paying this much, and then what's that as they start telling you their margins, you would go to BMW and then ask them, what's your margin? You would, just because they brought it to your attention. So don't do it. What else? Yeah, fixed price with someone like Hayden, where you charge for a quote over cost plus. I was speaking to Builder yesterday, he's in a world of pain, did a cost plus job. It's gone over. It always, it's never going to be accurate. The client's using emotional manipulation. Doesn't want to pay him the last 50 grand or whatever it is, and he's done the work, which he should never do, because now he's got a good luck trying to get the money, and you can see the client doesn't want to pay. It's just horrible, man. A horrible position to be in. So, but yes, negotiated tenders is the ultimate outcome that you guys should be striving for. And yeah, guys, all the documents are in the resources section of the book. If you have any other questions, especially those of you watching the recording, there may be something that's come up in what we spoke about where happy, I'll answer the emails myself, info@builderscoach.com.au, and happy to share any specific documentation. But otherwise, that's a wrap from my end, Julian.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. We had a quick run through on this yesterday, and I always learn, more every time we kind of go through this. But I wanted to ask her, because I haven't got any questions there, but similar to the one I sort of said yesterday, someone hasn't got really any proper social media presence up and running. They're not doing anything there, and you kind of answered that about where to start. In the same kind of thing, at the moment, there's a few different things people need to implement. But the most important one, what would you say it is?
If someone's a standing start, or
well, if say right now I'm a builder who is just flat chat, I'm working really long hours. The jobs I'm working on, I've got one ongoing at the moment. I want to make that step of charging a higher margin and freeing up my own time. And what's the first step that I do to go about setting myself on that path?
Okay, I'll give you some initial steps just to sort of break the mold, to break out of the cycle of busyness. But there is no one silver bullet that's going to fix everything. And there is a sequence to systems implementation, which is why there are business coaches, because on the surface, it looks very simple what you need to do, right? But there is a sequence, a bit like building a house. But if you wanted to, the number one thing you need to do is free up time and money, all right? So if we're going to narrow it down to one thing, so obviously the sales process, but within the sales process, that questionnaire, I'd get that questionnaire set up. It's going to cost you $50. Any inquiry that comes in, just send them a questionnaire. Just say to them, in order for me to help you best, I need some more information. Please complete the questionnaire. That alone is going to save you, free up enough time for you to then work on something else. The other thing I would then work on, depends on what you need, right? Like if you need work, like if you said you're one job on, you want to grow, then I would network with architects and designers. They've still got plenty of work coming through across the country, and they're looking for builders, and there's a lot of builders that are, some that are walking away at the 11th hour, so they could have jobs ready to go, low-hanging fruit that you could pick. I get our guys to do an architect blitz. For guys that want to grow and get work now, we get them to call 100 architects and designers, and there's a process around that where they interview them, which we could do a whole webinar just on that. But it would be, doing that, and then as soon as you freed up enough time, then put the sales process in place first and foremost, get the financials done. I would spend time seeking out the right people. There's, from a financial bookkeeping perspective, Don and Blake Doolan, they can set everything up for you. So you can get people like Ash from InSeek working on your social media and online presence, website, brochures, site signs, banners, logos. Someone like Don and Blake doing your financial controls. We're going to run an event later in the year with them. Hazard Code doing your OH&S, and then Build Exact helping with your costings and job scheduling, whilst you focus on building your team, build a better trade base. So that's where you can accelerate your results, man. I've seen younger guys go screaming past, the silver foxes.
Yeah, and I think Kurt's probably selling himself a little bit short there because he talked about everyone else other than himself. But I think sometimes, really having a coach in there in your business that can help you with that is awesome. And it's the same thing. People use personal trainers for a lot of it. It's to hold you account to the decisions that you make. And a personal trainer where you decide you might not want to do those last couple of lifts and stuff, and then they'll shout at you and tell you to do it. And sometimes that's all you need is just a bit of someone kind of dragging you through and making you make those changes to help your business out. And some of the biggest businesses are run by people in the world who still get mentoring by other people.
Oh man, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I'm doing a fun run in Manly next weekend, and for $120 a month, I'm being coached by an Olympic athlete who ran 10 kilometers in Rio. And he's given me the training program, everything. It's amazing. You just, why would I try and figure that out myself? I'm busy doing what I do. I can just tap into all his knowledge and experience and resources. So, I mean, I absolutely love what I do. I know I can help builders fast track and accelerate results. It's a really enjoyable, fulfilling experience, man.
Awesome, mate. There's a question from Danielle here, Kurt. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but what's your advice on completing a tender for an architect who's asking for an itemized trades and materials cost breakdown and won't accept a tender without this?
So you use tactical empathy, which is you go, look, I completely understand why you would want that. So because you understand why he wants that, but unfortunately we don't do that. You say no. Most of you guys are too scared to say no. Just say no, and don't give an explanation either. And just know that wherever you are, there's hundreds of other architects and designers that you could work with who would say yes. So I have endless stories. One in particular where the architect was crying. She had tears in her eyes, hugged the builder, thanking him for charging for quotes because she hated just saying no. She didn't want to, one builder tender process. Say to a client, you're working with Andrew, that's it. Was much easier than going through that whole tender process, the time and effort and energy of speaking to 3 guys. And then the thing that really killed her, she's like an empath, was saying no to the 2 builders that didn't get the job. And she knew spent 40 hours each doing it. So we've also another story about a guy in Brisbane who's in a room of 300 architects. And the question came up, should builders be charging? Every single architect said yes. So if you've got one that fights you on it, next. But you don't have to be nasty about it. Just move on. Just find the ones that respect and appreciate it. It's the same with your trades. You're going to get trades that live week to week and don't want to, I've heard guys say they're building their culture and they're pursuing excellence. We're going to raise standards. We're going to be the best. We want to dominate in our space. They gamifying it, making work like sport, and the teams do each other's, they do the checks at the end of the job, right? Checking the defects that walk through. And then they have fun with it. And then there's 1 or 2 guys that go, oh, this is gay. I don't like it. They're not a good fit for the team because their mindset is they're lazy. They just want to do their work and go have a beer and put a bed on the dogs. And then these other guys that peak performers that are drawn to that. They're like, so we're going to push the boundaries. We're going to be the best version of ourselves. And so this comes back to leadership. You've got to lead this. Sadly, the world is 80% mediocrity. You obviously going to be playing at a different level. You're going to be doing things very different. So you're going to be saying no to 80, 90% of people, including clients, trades, architects, designers.
Yeah. And I think I kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday, Kurt, but my neighbor is kind of in a bit of a situation from my understanding at the moment. He's a plumber and he's busy literally all the time. Like I don't see him leave and I don't see him come back because I've started work after he's left and I finished work and gone to the gym, come back, eaten dinner, and he's coming back after that point. And he's absolutely slammed. I think from my understanding, the business is struggling a little bit. And, my recommendation was always like, I can't put my prices up because I'll lose clients. And I have to keep those clients going. And I'm just like, they're the clients that are probably running you into the ground at the moment. And, when I hear things like, people asking for itemized breakdowns and things like that, that just tells me it's a value, but it's a money-based conversation. And the only reason people are finding that out is to try and get it cheaper. or to try and squeeze you out of more money. In my opinion, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it's predominantly. However, I would use unconditional positive regard and assume maybe they're just asking because they're curious. Like sometimes you'll just go, "Oh, no, we don't do that," and they go, "Okay, fine." Or they've got another quote where the guy's done it, so they just assume it's normal, so they're asking. And then for most builders, they're projecting all they're making big assumptions about, "Oh, this is so important to them. Oh my God, okay, I better do it." Meanwhile, they actually don't care. They were just asking as a, you've probably done it as a customer. You ask a question and then you see the salesperson, like you see him get all flustered and his eyes are shaking in his head. And you're like, "Oh, it's just a passing thought." You know what I mean? So it could be that, maybe it's not. But again, it's your process or theirs. Just lead them through it. And if your process or engineered to give them the best possible outcome and you plan at a higher level than most, then the right clients recognize that and they'll be drawn to you like iron filings to a magnet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it from a question side. Guys, I did put Kurt's email at the very top. So if you are after the book or you want to get in touch with Kurt, that email is at the very top, info@builderscoach.com.au. But I think maybe we can wrap it there, Kurt, unless you had anything further to add.
No, that's it. I mean, we do have a big event coming up in Manly next month. People are welcome to join us if they're interested. You guys, Building Jack's going to be representing. So, hopefully I can catch up with some people there. But big thanks to you again and Building Jack. Really appreciate the opportunity.
No, thanks, Kurt. Really, really great having you on and sharing your advice with everyone.
Awesome, man. Have a good weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Sorry, I lost the screen there after I stopped sharing. I was trying to find the Zoom there again. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, sorry, just needed to unmute myself. Thanks again for having me, Julian. Really looking forward to this one, mate.
No worries, mate. Guys, for those of you that weren't able to join yesterday, we did have Kurt on a webinar yesterday. That was really all around the marketing side. So we had Ash from InSeek Identity and obviously Kurt from Builders Coach. We did a webinar yesterday that was really all about, how do I set my, systems and processes up to attract the best possible clients to get them to me. And then really today is all going to be around how do I get them to, pop their details in, reach out to me, enable me to contact them. And then really from there, how do I make sure I win the business of the right client that I want, rather than just wasting all my time trying to deal with tire kickers or people that, are not an optimal client. And I touched on this yesterday as well. We're kind of going through that little bit of a wobbly period in the industry at the moment. And, there's a real feeling of the ones that don't have systems and processes in place are going to struggle. We've obviously seen a lot of the bigger guys are having some issues, and the Port Davis news and all that kind of stuff happen. So really with these webinars, we're really just trying to get the best people we can possibly do and get it out to our clients and potential clients, just really to help set you guys up for success. We did it all through the COVID years and with material prices and things like that. Very different challenges now because the level of work isn't going to be available, and so it's all about winning the right work and making sure you're not wasting your time on that. So Kurt is an absolute, genius with this stuff. I've known Kurt for a few years now, been to a bunch of his events. We were at one in Melbourne, about a month ago, Kurt?
Yeah, it was about a month ago, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that was awesome. Really good information. So yeah, pen, paper, guys. There's a chat box down there as well. Feel free to pop in questions. We normally have a Q&A section at the very end, but I guess if there's certain questions that are appropriate, we might jump into them, Kurt, but we can kind of play that by ear as the sort of session kicks off. But for those of you who don't know, Kurt, Builders Coach, works with, a ton of builders, and he'll give, a talk around his book and things like that and what he's done. But he's, an absolute genius in this space. So really take your notes and reach out to Kurt. He's great for advice, after the session as well. There'll be his details after. So